green. Go.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Very excited about today. You should be too. I shall explain. The Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day, 50-50 in betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson is coming up a little bit later on. We've got a tavern tour stop tomorrow. Heaven Hill Distillery, Brent Halverson and I at OPT's. You down with OPT? You know me. Old Pros Table in Broad Ripple tomorrow. I would love to put out the bat signal and make sure everybody out there joins us tomorrow for what is going to be an absolute outstanding time. I need it because I've gone almost now a week. Tomorrow will mark the week-long anniversary since I have been out doing a live remote. And as much as I don't mind seeing James, as much as I don't mind coming in the studio, actually, I do mind coming in the studio. I think it stinks. I want to be out. So it's been a week anniversary since I've been out. We'll be out tomorrow at OPT's, Old Pros Table in Broad Ripple. You don't even have to RSVP. You can just show up. Just show up, walk in, and join us. And you know, I have been dictated the terms on how I should now explain this with the sampler platter that we always do with Heaven Hill Distillery. I've said it like 19 different ways, and then somebody calls and gets pissy about it. So the sampler platter will be available tomorrow. OPTs in Broad Ripple, Heaven Hill Distillery. Cannot wait to see you up in there. Bowen's bottom of the hour. I believe somebody's coming up at 4. Pat Boyland last night, who was in Seattle, did a great job as he normally does. The Fever get a win. Everybody wants to know the drama that surrounds DeWanna Bonner. You know what? I don't care. If you don't want to be here, then haul ass away. Good. Seriously. Now, that Stephanie White said it right. If you don't want to be here, you don't want to be a part of it, then go ahead and go someplace else. They couldn't find a trade partner, so you have to waive the, 18-year veteran? I mean, it's too bad, but so sad. And the Kravitz a little bit later on as well. I did want to give a shout-out. I had an excellent lunch, and you know what that entails for me, eating nothing. A great lunch. And by the way, the food is great at Taylor's in Greenbrier. So this was on West 82nd Street, or 86th Street, I think that it is. Greenbrier location of Taylor. Saw Kyle, but me and the bros, Romy, were hanging out a little bit earlier, which is always awesome. And then I learned that, yes, coming up in the month of July, we'll be at that Taylor's Pub location. Cannot wait. But a shout-out to the legends, the Romy Bros, a little bit earlier today. And a lot more. We got the NBA draft coming up later on tonight if you care at all about that. And then we have coming up relatively soon the Pacers trying to piece together the direction in which they're going, the blueprint for a year without Tyrese Halliburton. But to start the show on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, I thought there would be nobody better, because you heard me yesterday talking about Robin Miller and what David Benner would have absolutely enjoyed about this Pacers season and this playoff run. And I thought of nobody that could be more profound in explaining that than, and again, he's got so many credentials, I don't know if I can go over them all right here. I know he is an Indiana journalist Hall of Famer. He's been my longtime friend and former colleague as well back at the other station of the day. The former star columnist is Bill Benner, who joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Hello, Billy. How are you, buddy?
Couldn't be better, John, and honored and delighted to be on with you.
I know that you have a WNBA meeting coming up, and I couldn't go over all your credentials because I'm afraid that would take like an hour and a half to do so. You're way too decorated for this show.
Well, when you've been around as long as I have, stuff accumulates, and I'm actually on the WNBA All-Star Host Committee. We have one of our final wrap-up meetings here shortly, and I just pulled into the Gamebridge Fieldhouse garage as we speak.
Well, I tell you, there's nobody better to handle all this than you being a part of that. There's no doubt. And nobody better, as I mentioned this morning to you in a text, I felt compelled to reach out and call because you've been with the Pacers, obviously writing as far as columnist work in the day, but also been with them for such a number of years. But I wanted the angle of your brother David Benner and the angle of colleague and friend Robin Miller on what this run would have meant to them, because those are two spaces that are just never going to be filled again. And I could not keep myself, Bill, from thinking about what they would be saying, what they would be doing, what their reaction would be with that playoff run.
Well, one of the bittersweet things that occurred during the Pacers playoff run, I can't tell you the number of people who reached out to me, John, and reflected upon David and how much he would have relished this moment and this playoff run. There are so many players on the team that still know and loved and admired David, including Rick Carlisle, Miles Turner. I remember at David's celebration of life in the field house, Tyrese Halliburton sitting in the front row. Reggie was obviously there, flew in from California for that occasion. I think back to Robin. Robin would have he'd have been in his glory. You know, Robin goes all the way back to the Coliseum days.
Right.
He would sneak out of the sports department he was very much into a beginner's role, but Robin had such moxie that he would sneak out of the sports department and drive to the Coliseum, and he began to know Slick and the players, and before we knew it, he was writing sidebars and occasionally traveling with the team, as only Robin could do. So for both of those guys, I've thought about them often. I wish, obviously I wish that they could have been here along with Slick and Jim Morris and so many other people. But David especially, he's been gone for 2 years and 3 months, almost coming up on 3 months now. And I did have the pleasure of Sherry, my wife Sherry, and Jane, David's wife. We did go to Game 3 in the field house, and at the end of that victorious Game 3 in the field house of the finals, we got teary-eyed thinking about David and how much this all would have meant to him.
I think about it all the time with your brother David. I ran into him endlessly, just beyond this and being friends, but at the Kroger at 135 down just outside of Bargersville, and those conversations that I miss. But there was nobody better at what they did, and he had that unique perspective of being a writer and covered the Pacers first, and then obviously became the guru of all gurus media-wise for the Pacers for so many years. And obviously the impact that this run would have had on him for all those years of work, it's tough not to get teary-eyed, as you mentioned, after a Game 3 win and the capacity in which you saw it.
Yeah, and John, when you mentioned Robin and myself and David, we more or less kind of encapsulate the history of the Pacers. I mentioned Robin ingratiating himself to the ABA Pacers of the Coliseum. I became the beat writer for the Pacers in 1974, covered the first game in Market Square Arena when they moved to Market Square Arena. David took over as the beat writer after I left the beat, and then eventually replaced Dale Ratterman and became director of media relations. And then David and I it was an incredible, fortuitous thing that happened for both of us. My last 7 years was with the Pacers as their VP of Corporate Community and Public Relations, and David was still plugging away as the director of media relations. David, John, I have to say, David earned universal respect from the national media.
Right.
Not only the local guys who knew him and loved him, but the national media and his PR colleagues in the other markets. They all loved and respected and admired David so much. David and Chrissy and Wes and all the group, they were universally respected. One of David's prized possessions, John, cut me off when you have to, but the Boston Celtics gave him a piece of the parquet floor. That's how much they respected David. So this would have meant a lot, and it still means a lot. And I know that Slick and David, and they were up there shouting at Scott Foster up in heaven.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Bill Benner joins us, kind enough to join us before his WNBA All-Star meeting on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We'll double back to that, too. And I couldn't get away from it last night because I brought this up yesterday in terms of and I couldn't get away with wanting to discuss this. And I just felt you were perfect. But you've also, as you mentioned, been deeply entrenched in Indy, in sports with the Pacers for so many decades. What did this past year mean to you?
This was one of the great things, John, that happened. I was a sports writer and a columnist, and you see things from a franchise perspective from the external point of view. The great thing that happened in the last 7 years of my life, in my professional life, working for the Pacers Sports and Entertainment, was I got to see things from the internal point of view. And by that, how hard those people work, how hard, I was so happy as I ran into my former PS&E colleagues. I made a point of telling each one of them, I know how hard you're working, but I also know how happy I am for you to enjoy this moment, to rejoice in this moment, to ride the wave, because this is what they go to work for each and every day, and not to take away from all the other activities that take place at Cambridge Fieldhouse, but the Pacers are it, and then the Fever coming along at the same time and doing everything that's going on with the Fever. So I'm so happy for all those people. And, here's the other great thing, and this happened in 2000 when I was a columnist covering the NBA Finals. Herb Simon flew front office staff employees, PS&E employees, out to L.A. for the Finals.
Yeah.
He did the same thing for this Oklahoma City trip for games 1 and 2. And what that says about Herb and the family atmosphere at Pacers Sports and Entertainment, of which I was pleasure to be a part of, that speaks so highly of Herb and the team behind the teams, and I'm just so happy for them. God knows we all wanted to win the championship. God knows we're all heartbroken to see Tyrese and what happened to him. But at the same time, I'm overjoyed for all those people at PS&E and what they were able to experience through this playoff run.
It's Bill Benner, who's kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'd stated this, and this was before Game 7, before the Tyrese Halliburton injury that clearly is going to sideswipe him. I'm not a doctor, but I'm assuming for the entirety of next season. But I have described what is coming up, certainly in the short to medium term here for Pacer Sports Entertainment, is a golden era. And I'm not sidetracked from next year without Tyrese Halliburton. I'm not sidetracked with kind of the slow start, the fever on. I think that, again, the impact of everything is going to continue because, above all else, and people will understand this, Bill, I believe in those decision makers right now that are trying to build this thing up. I think that we still have a golden era of Pacers Sports and Entertainment with those two properties especially in mind moving forward, even with the dynamic that took place on Sunday night in Oklahoma City.
John, I couldn't agree with you more. And again, the stick-to-itiveness of the Pacers Sports Entertainment and the stick-to-itiveness of Kevin Pritchard and his staff, and to not blow all up and go back into the lottery situation. What they have been able to construct and to build and do it the right way, and to see it all come to fruition, and to see Caitlin arrive and the impact that she's having, and to see Tyrese and Nemhard and Miles and Obi and TJ and go down the list to see everything that they were able to accomplish through this playoff run, this magical playoff run, where they were never favored, and to rise above all the challenges and to get to the seventh game and even have a 1-point lead at halftime in the seventh game despite losing Tyrese. I mean, it's just so gratifying. And yes, I often quote the late great Terry Hepner at IU. If you think you can or you can't, you're right. Well, I believe the Pacers think they can still, and I know that they're going to face very difficult challenges as Tyrese comes back, who knows when. But this thing hasn't gone away. It's still going to be here, and the fever is still going to be here. And I look forward to what's coming ahead. And I also think that they've it goes beyond a shot of adrenaline. What has happened with the city and their enrapture with Pacers basketball has been nothing short of, in the words of Jim Morris, the late Jim Morris, extraordinary and remarkable. And I think it will continue.
It was so necessary too, considering everything, not just the sports angles here, Bill, but absolutely everything. It was necessary, and part of the genuine enjoyment that I had over the course of the past month and a half or so during the postseason, and really, let's just say the last quarter of the NBA regular season, watching this team evolve and the fans just get brought into the enjoyment and the love for this team once again was truly special, and in a lot of areas, for those feel-good circumstances, Bill, incredibly necessary.
Well, here's the thing, John. Back in 2000, I was the columnist for the Indianapolis Star, and that was the year we had the Final Four, and then the Pacers embarked on their playoff run. And so I went 10 weeks with maybe only 2 or 3 days off during that entire stretch. And so when you're covering it, you're thinking about your deadlines and what you're going to write, and what's getting to practice the next day and making airplane rides and all that stuff. So I don't think, and maybe some of my current journalist compatriots would think about this, I don't think I was able to enjoy the moment in 2000 as much as I have been this time, as a fan, as a guy in front of his television with my wife Sherry sitting nearby and screaming at the television and going, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my, what has Tyrese done again? Those kinds of moments just are just so, they tug at my heart. And again, going back to David Benner and Robin, God, I wish they could have been here to experience this.
Yeah, it's tough for me to fathom. And I mentioned the same thing yesterday about them both. And the other thing, we're also without our good friend, our mutual friend, comedian, and just great personality, Ron Sexton. And it also allowed me to think about the type of fake parade that we would have had in the honor of the Benner brothers had Ron still been here too, if you remember that. Just so much enjoyment.
Bill, I tell you what, we had some darn good times.
Oh man, when Ron and Mark put together that fake parade, I still to this day, still remember to this day how many people thought that was real. So many people thought that was real.
They had the fake Ed Sorensen. was part of it. Yeah, that was some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, when Ron did his impression of you and your brother David, and that was great. But to me, the greatest one is the one he did of Mark Patrick that he never did around Mark Patrick. That was beautiful. That was beautiful to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So no, those thoughts came flooding back yesterday to me, and that's why I felt compelled to reach out to you and have you on the show today. Hey, thanks for taking the time. WNBA All-Star Weekend, I'm assuming, is going to be incredible around here, right?
It's going to be July 17th through the 19th, and they're starting a statewide scavenger hunt. There will be concerts and all of those kinds of things that were just announced. And once again, John, I've been around and I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
We'll take it to another level. They'll rewrite the bid manual after Indianapolis is done with this one for the WNBA All-Star Game, just as they rewrote the Super Bowl bid manual, just as every Final Four we have, even though we've had 8 or 9 or 10 of them before, we'll take that to another level next April. And so that's, and again, I know I sound like a cheerleader and a homer, but I've been a part of both sides of it, and I've seen how Indianapolis and its people and the volunteers always rise to the occasion, and they never fail, and they won't fail with the WNBA All-Star Game. They didn't fail when it snowed during the NBA All-Star Game. It's just, again, using the words of the late great Jim Morris, for whom we have much to be thankful for this all coming together. It's all extraordinary and remarkable.
The other reason I thought about you is because of this Pacer run and what Indiana football became this past year. This has been one hell of a year for Bill Benner, has it not, in sports?
Johnny, I was at 12 of the 13 IU football games. I was dead set against expansion, conference expansion. I hated it when they added the 4 West Coast teams. But when IU played at UCLA, yeah, I was there. Yeah, I was there. so we'll see what happens. But it's been one hell of a joyride.
Yeah.
And I hope we keep it going. And I hope the Fever, once they get everybody healthy and get back home, I hope they conclude what everybody hopes will be a great, great season. And back to our earlier point, John, we counted out the Pacers for 4 straight playoff series. I wouldn't go down that road again. This team, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
I've had a deeply rooted belief for a long time with this core and the depth on this team as a group. So I'm not losing that right now. Hey, thanks for jumping on here. It's an absolute pleasure to talk with you again, to have you on the show, my friend. And keep doing what you're doing. You're an absolute local treasure as always. And if you need anything, let me know.
Thanks, Johnny. And I can't be happier to watch as your career has evolved all the way back from out there off the Fall Creek Road to what you're doing today. It's just it really, really fills my heart. Thank you.
So much of it with you guys, and I can't thank you enough. Always friends, my brother. I appreciate you. We'll do it again soon. Thank you, Billy.
All right. See you, Johnny.
It's Bill Benner on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. That felt really good. A lot of you probably are privy to the old school stories. Maybe some of you of the younger generation aren't. But the fake parade and things that took place back in the day, just so special. But I wanted to reach out. I brought up Robin Miller yesterday and David Benner yesterday, and I wanted to reach out to Bill to get him on the show to discuss something that is so profoundly impactful for me now and for a lifetime. And Bill Benner was perfect to have on to start today's show to do just that. On the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, quick break, we'll come back. Bowen, bottom of the hour. Pat Boyland's going to be here. If we can track down a Kravitz on the road tomorrow as well, we'll explain that. The NBA draft is tonight. The Fever a win last night. The Fever lose a player, waive a player, get rid of a player today. That and more coming up for you. And by the way, a lot of deals going on around the NBA with the Celtics having a fire sale. That and more coming up with you. Don't go anywhere. The stream, the app, HD Radio, the AAA Membership Lounge. Become a member today. That's AAA.com. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
Just a minute. Didn't anybody knock anymore?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, I was watching the Reds. I quoted Lou Brown from Major League a little bit earlier with Jake saying, all right, Pepper. Remember, Pepper was the assistant coach, the third base coach. Pepper in Major League. Looks like things are coming together. I don't know if anything's coming together in Cincinnati, but the past 2 nights have been pretty sweet. I can't lie about that. A little come from behind her in extra innings last night, beating the Yankees in 2 straight. I get the Yankees in Cincy coming up later on tonight. So we're not making a full-fledged transition to anything baseball right here, but give me a moment of enjoyment, if you will, please. Not bad. Tomorrow, Heaven Hill Distillery finds us at OPT's. You down with OPT? Well, you know me. That's Old Pros Table and Broad Ripple. All of us tomorrow together with Brent Halverson and Heaven Hill Distillery. You know about the sampler platter. You know how I have to now, dialogue-wise, explain it to you without getting into trouble. You know what happens, all right? You've been there long enough. We've done this long enough. You know what happens at our events? They're fun as hell, and you got to be there. OPT's Broad Ripple tomorrow. Be there or be square, which means you're a nerd. Just be there tomorrow, beginning at 3 o'clock. Bob Kravitz, hopefully a little bit later on. Pat Boyland was in Seattle last night. Fever get a win, lose a player. We'll talk about that and more top of the hour. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, for the Fan Morning Show with Jeff Rickard, with James Boyd, it is Kevin Bowen on this Wednesday on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Are you out sweating to the oldies right now, Kev?
Man, I am dripping every day by the time I reach my car, and it's about a 30-foot walking through the front door to the car. So it's actually, I know you're trapped in the tornado bunker right now, but it's actually overcast, and I swear I think it just rained a little.
Yeah, I went through. I came down. I came down Michigan Road on my way here a little bit earlier, and I went through spots of it rained and then it didn't, and it rained and it didn't. Kind of like Florida weather is what we got working right now.
Yeah, it's one of those rains where you just want to all of a sudden open your hands up to the heavens. So maybe some relief upcoming, but boy, certainly think about, I guess we're out of high school sports season, but man, all those construction workers, I can't even imagine.
Kevin Bowen doing a little Andy Dufresne, Shawshank Redemption, hands to heaven stuff in the rain right here. That's a reference or two. There's no doubt about that. Hey, so give me what you believe to be the charted path this offseason for the Pacers, knowing that you're going to be playing next season without Tyrese Halliburton.
Well, I assume it'll just be bring back Miles, and then, how much do you want to, I guess, dip into the tax to, keep everybody else around him?
Go ahead and dip into it. Why do we care if they dip into the tax or not?
Yeah, I don't. I think organizationally they would say, well, do you know the ramifications of, if you get into and these are way over my head, but first and second aprons, what that can do in limiting you moving forward in making additional moves. I forget what the penalties are, but you can't do sign and trades at one point. You can't, send cash in a trade. Again, all this is uber NBA nerdy stuff, but there are penalties that are not just, the dollar costs more once you get in the tax. So I would assume that, again, it'll be rather, status quo to probably what we thought a week ago. Having said that, I do think all the questions just offer a lot more debate and a lot more serious investigation into, okay, is this the right thing? Because you never obviously envisioned something like this happening, and now you are without Tyrese Halliburton for a year. How does that impact? Should it impact it at all? I think those are very real conversations that you have to have, but ultimately I think when you get through all that, I assume it will be Turner back. Curious what the deal looks like. But him back, and then we'll see if, Obi Toppin and Benedict Mathurin and those other guys are still around.
As it should be. Kevin Bowen's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So you want Russell Westbrook in here as a free agent, correct?
No.
Yeah, I just kind of made that up. I was just joking. Yeah. I did kind of make that up a little bit.
It is fun. We had I know you talked to Jeremiah Johnson earlier in the week. I asked him today, what are you most curious about? And I asked him off-season-wise to kind of put Miles to the side. And, he did bring up, do you go out and make a move for a guard? Now, again, it's very difficult to try to fit that into the puzzle if you're going to bring Miles back. But, you would think, for most teams, you just lost a 20-point and 10-assist scorer. You go out and you find a guard in some capacity. But if you look at the roster, you probably think to yourself, well, Andrew Nembhard, some people view him more as a point guard, and obviously T.J. McConnell is still a really quality backup. And, from a scoring standpoint, can Benedict Mathurin with more volume, can he ascend as a scorer a little bit more? And, maybe Karis Walker takes on more of a scoring role as that second unit. It's not that far-fetched to kind of try to, I guess, patchwork it up in-house. But, I am, a little curious, and I'm not talking about like the second-round pick tomorrow night. Is there anything that you would do from a, probably more of a point guard, but just a guard in general? Is there anything on that front that makes sense for you and or you can do it financially?
Yeah, I think they'll try to do something, too. I just kind of wanted to get your name attached to Russell Westbrook. That's all I wanted to do.
Gosh, I'd be back at Uyghur O'Hare Indy in the next couple of months if I had to watch Russell Westbrook, 82 straight nights out of the year.
Hey, by the way, are you guys going down to tape something tomorrow in Franklin like I am, or is it just me for the golf outing?
No, I did not.
Oh.
I remember last year we all had a little range session I'm trying to think back to, but no, I got nothing.
Well, I guess I'm going then. I guess I'm holding up the flag for the entire place tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Well, look at that. Well, you and Ted Bishop certainly have got a little history together, and that'll be a nice little day out there. Head to number 3 and 7. There, we used to call, the state finals used to be the Legends. And we used to call the tee boxes of 3 and 7. They share a tee box, 2 par 3s. We called that the Mecca of Indiana high school golf. So go out there and hit a few shots, see if you can make a hole-in-one out there.
Well, I was going to bring it up because, we're going to obviously tout our fan golf outing coming up on Thursday, August the 7th. I brought it up yesterday. So James Boyd has never drank. Is that true?
I believe that is correct. Yep, James Boyd has never drank. I thought Jeff Rickard gave a nice sip of the Miller Lite on Carb Day. I don't think anything much more than that. But, yes, I believe that is correct.
Rickard took the sip or James took the sip?
Rickard took the sip. It was very reminiscent. I don't know if you caught the Mark Dagnall sip that he took.
What kind of nerds do you hang out with in the morning? What's going on here?
I know, yeah. Certainly when Kevin Bowen has to act like the biggest hard ass of the three, you know that we're in a different world.
Oh, man. So a sip. Okay. Well, they're going to have to do more than that.
Yeah, unfortunately, James will not be there for the golf outing. He will be in Baltimore for the Colts preseason opener, Colts and Ravens. So, he had mentioned that earlier. So you and I don't know, have we continued with the ideas that I've had? Because I threw these ideas at, the powers that be, and I think I mentioned to you on air. I love the idea of you either DJing on a hole, like it's a Saturday night, and or some sort of basketball hoop action. I mean, obviously we're not asking you to play one-on-one, but that jump shot's not going anywhere.
No. I could take this boot off if I want. I'm just Tyrese Halliburton scared me straight on Sunday night, so I'm rocking the boot right now for that reason only.
So, I think you doing that, Jake doing some sports trivia, I think we're going to have all things covered for the outing, and that gets everybody a chance us to interact with everybody in the outing, which I love.
I could take shots and then take jumpers against people.
Well, sure, yeah. And as as the 20th group makes their way through your hole, by the end of the round, all of a sudden the rim's looking a little wobbly for you.
We should mention too the fan golf outing, the invitational golf outing presented by Franciscan Health. That's Thursday, August the 7th. Get signed up today. We would love to have you down at the awesome Legends Golf Club in Franklin. That is an everybody attend event. Get signed up today. 1075. thefan.com. So what's your reflection on this past season? And do you trust that this team has been put together, even without Halliburton, for next year to be able to be competitive in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I guess on the first part, I mean, it's a season that, will live, I think, in Indiana sports lore, frankly. For a combination of things. Obviously, they were good. They played a very entertaining brand of basketball. Those two things I think are important to people, but mostly because they're a beyond likable bunch. And it was unpredictable. It was unexpected. It's probably the better way to put it. I think when you add up all those things, that's why this group will be remembered for so long. And, I mean, you had 8 points in 9 seconds seemingly a handful of times during the playoffs, which is truly, truly amazing. So, that's probably my prevailing thought. Obviously, it ends in, some of the more nightmarish fashion that you could imagine. And, for me, series-wise, I mean, who knows how Game 7 would have unfolded. I'd probably point more towards Game 4. I just thought that was so, have that opportunity on your home floor to finish that off, and then obviously you would have had a Game 6 to win the title. That's probably what I'll remember more like game-to-game series-wise. Obviously the injury you're going to remember a ton. As far as the second part is, I mean, I have no idea what the Eastern Conference is going to look like. I mean, it's beyond wide open, I would think. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I should give Cleveland more benefit of the doubt. Maybe New York gets a new coach in there, and it's not too much, that's what, the 1 and the 3 seed, I'm trying to think, from last year. That's pretty much bringing back everybody. Granted, Darius Garland is going to miss, at least the start of the season with that toe injury. But then after that, I mean, who the hell knows? Is Orlando ready to take a jump? Is Detroit ready to take a jump? What's left of Boston? I don't know way Philadelphia can stay healthy enough. I'm sure I'm forgetting some team. And I'd throw the Pacers kind of in the middle, of that, whatever, that second tier maybe of just teams you don't know. Like if I literally handed you a piece of paper and said, name me 5 teams in the East, 1,000% will be better than the Pacers next year. I think that's a difficult task. Now, again, I don't say with conviction that the Pacers, are definitely going to be where they were last year, or I guess back in April as the 4 seed. But I mean, the Tatum injury and it just so much, I think has really turned the Eastern Conference upside down. So I expect them to be a playoff team. What exactly that looks like and how the young guys continue to grow, though, is obviously a huge question mark.
Yeah, it's really tough to come up with much because you don't really know at all how the Eastern Conference landscape is going to look. You know what teams are dealing with. You know what Boston's doing right now. You know what Milwaukee's going to have to deal with. I think Philadelphia's going to try to make some moves, and then you got other teams that are trying to do so as well. You see Atlanta, on the move. The Knicks are still going to be there. The Cavaliers, I mean, there'd been talk about Garland maybe going someplace else as well. So, I mean, there are a lot, I think, of angles. I just have this deeply rooted belief in the backups not to completely sink it this year, if you know what I mean. I do have a belief that these guys will be able, and part of me also was kind of interested to see with these guys getting thrust into, with Matherin as a starter, for example, and Nembhard playing the point guard without Halliburton on the floor with him, and, Jarris Walker at some point. I know people are kind of scared and think you already have seen out of him what you have seen, but there's going to be some opportunities there. And I'm going to be interested in the reaction from these guys. They're going to be given these opportunities that for an extended period of time, Kev, we have not seen in their careers thus far.
Yeah, I mean, some golden opportunities. And, in small sample size, Nembhard as a point guard has been promising. I would say even Matherin, more of a volume guy, it's been promising. The question becomes, now – they're different on the scouting report. Now it seems, it's not just, out of the blue, Tyrese Halliburton's ruled out 90 minutes before tip-off. How do you react to that? 82 nights out of the year obviously is a lot. So I think all of those are, they are great, great opportunities for them. And those two in particular, and maybe Walker you'd throw into it, they kind of offer the, all right, when Halliburton gets back in 2026, 2027, are those pieces, and let's just focus on those 3, Nembhard, Mather, and Walker, are those pieces better? Because if they all of a sudden start to rise, now you can handle maybe a little bit more of, Siakam dropping off any, or Turner dropping off any as they reach, a little bit more into their 30s, or, even Halliburton not being, all NBA type of talent right when he comes back, if you believe, people that say it's more of kind of a 2-year thing with, and Achilles truly getting back to that normal self there. But again, I do think the questions, I can only imagine how many of them now had to be asked, and I think it's probably a big reason why, we haven't really heard from Kevin Pritchard, or, maybe they're just waiting for the draft anyways, this close to the draft. Maybe we will hear from them if they do make a pick tomorrow night, but a lot of those questions are just different now, and that's just so excruciating to what happened on Sunday night. It's, JJ even said to us earlier today, it's almost like, man, losing in Game 6 doesn't sound like the end of the world. I think getting the taste of the Game 7, as cool as that was, losing Halliburton is just it's just a brutally tough, pill to swallow.
He is also watching the Reds with interest right now, like I am. Kevin Bowen of the Morning Show, along with James Boyd and Jeff Rickard, weekday morning, 7 until 10 a.m. here on The Fan, and also a part of the Fan Invitational Golf Outing presented by Franciscan Health, Thursday, August the 7th. Make sure you log on and get your tickets for your foursome right now, because it is going to be a blast. I absolutely guarantee a blast. And when I guarantee a blast, Kev, a blast is on the inbound. We know that. So be there, right?
It is a Joe Willie Namath guarantee.
Yes.
You hit him well down there tomorrow.
I don't even know what I'm doing down there. I'm just going to show up at 10 a.m. in the parking lot and see how long I'll wait before anybody else shows up.
Now, I will say, don't rip the other Achilles trying to hit one over the fence. I've seen you hit the driver. You don't hold back.
I don't, man. We cut her loose, buddy. We're not going to leave. We're not going to leave anything on the table. We cut her loose. All right, man. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Kev, I appreciate you.
You bet, John. Have a great week.
Kevin Bowen's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Pat Boyland's at the top of the hour. So the Fever way of a player that couldn't find, I guess, a spot to thrive. Didn't think there was a spot here in DeWanna Bonner. We'll talk about that, talk about the Fever win last night, and then talk about the struggles of Caitlin Clark. Is there anything to coming back from an injury there? Or is it just, as I mentioned before, kind of just, as basketball fans know this to be true, basketball players know this, sometimes you get in the anti-zone and you're broke as a joke. Pat Boyland, top of the hour. Bob Kravitz, 5:30. Harris Hoosier Park race of the day also coming up. Stay right there. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
and the beat goes on. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Pat Boy, the top of the hour. By the way, Kevin Bowen, who just joined us for the morning show, somebody had sent him a picture of this guy that has a small pickup truck that has a basketball goal in the back. That guy has to roll out to our golf outing so I can shoot on that right there. That's a hell of an idea right there, Kev. And whomever sent Kevin that idea, well done. I can shoot on that every day. I also mentioned the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day. Did you see the names of the horses here? Have you seen the names of the horses, the Harris Hoosier Park race
for
of the
today?
day?
Yeah, I looked at them. Yeah.
Have you? There's zero. If I'm entering this, there's zero way I'm not going with the horse called Dating a Virgin.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple of times.
Dating a Virgin.
I wonder how they name some of these horses.
That may be the greatest name of a horse of all time. Dating a Virgin. Jack Be Nimble. Brooklet's Last Call. Imperial Lou. Covert. Tell UCLA surprise.
Tell you a surprise.
Tell you a surprise. Risky Endeavor. And Dating a Virgin. Let's just go ahead and go with Dating a Virgin right there. That may be the best name I've ever seen. Quick one, we'll come back. Boyland was doing some play-by-play last night for the Fever on the road in Seattle. We'll talk to Pat about that. And DeWanna Bonner, done. Talk about that. The Sparks in town. We'll talk about that. What is that, tomorrow night for the Sparks, I believe, the LA Sparks and the Fever back here. And the upcoming All-Star weekend for the WNBA, as we mentioned with Bill Benner a little bit earlier. By the way, if you missed any of that conversation, podcast 1075thefan.com. Plenty of Robin Miller and David Benner reflection on this Pacer playoff run with Bill Benner a little bit earlier, the former Star columnist. If you missed it, make sure you double back. It is 1075thefan.com. Bob Kravitz, 5 o'clock hour. And somebody better take Dating a Virgin. That's the Harris Hoosier Park race of the day today as well. And Pat Boylan's on the other side with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
with JMV.
We're putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way. We're on a mission from God.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
41 years it has been since the release of the soundtrack of Purple Rain, one of the greatest soundtracks of all time, easily. You know of it well, James, over there? What's your favorite song?
I think the title track. I love the title track.
Purple Rain?
Yep.
Darling Nikki? Remember we used to think when they said masturbating in magazine, whoa! And now it's like nothing. Hell, I just said it. I tell you what I do on the JMV Takeover all the time that nobody else does is I do a Larceny Bourbon Double Shot Power of the beautiful ones that goes directly into Computer Blue, just like it does on the soundtrack. So good, though. I mean, really from top to bottom. What would be the worst song on here?
I wouldn't really know off the top of my head. So the only ones I really actually know all that well are Let's Go Crazy and then obviously Purple Rain. And I really know Purple Rain from the halftime performance at the Super Bowl.
Understand.
So that's the tie I have to it.
Most people may suggest, funny because in the film it's played off like nobody likes Let's Go Crazy.
Really?
Because everybody thought, well, here's Prince again and his, egomaniac. Let's go crazy. Let's get nuts. Remember Morris Day made fun of it? Let's go crazy. Let's get nuts. Take Me With You, maybe, would be the least of the enjoyable songs on it, just maybe. 41 years ago today, Purple Rain. That's James. I'm John. Bill Benner a little bit earlier. Kevin Bowen a little bit earlier. Bob Kravitz a little bit later. Your Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day also coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Tavern Tour Stop. Speaking of Larceny Bourbon, we've got some Larceny Bourbon Double Shot Power tomorrow because Heaven Hill Distillery brings Tavern Tour Stop from Broad Ripple at Old Pro's Table. Cannot wait to see you there. There is no need to RSVP. Just bring ass over. That's all you got to do. And yes, keep telling me that a lot of the reason why I love the film Purple Rain was because of Apollonia Cotero purifying herself in the what she thought to be waters of Lake Minnetonka, which wasn't. I just always thought in my mind, you didn't actually see this, but her trying to squeeze her, should I put it this way, her wet, nude body back into that leather outfit, just, I wish there was some way to have that on film, too. Oh, Apollonia. Apollonia. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. It probably sounds really good to him right now because, frankly, he's had about 35 minutes of sleep since getting back from Seattle, Washington, the side of the Fever game last night. As you witnessed that, if you watched it, you listened to it here. You watched it last night on Channel 13 WTHR. Pat Boyland joins us now. Hello, Pat. How are you?
John, doing well, and appreciate everybody that stayed up late with us. And I know it's been kind of a heartbreaking last few days from a Pacers perspective, but hopefully the Fever win was able to get some people's mind in a good place. It was a nice win last night out in Seattle, and we landed around 7 a.m. this morning, so it's a quick turnaround for a team that has to play tomorrow and then Friday too.
You know, it's weird it works out that way, right? Is that kind of similar to the NBA schedule that they have when you come all the way back from Seattle and have that quick of a turnaround?
Yeah. Really, whenever they're on the West Coast, that's how it looks. Now, the NBA usually, not usually, but sometimes does a nice job of getting on the West Coast swing. The final game will maybe be in like a Denver or a Salt Lake City, so it's a little closer and one less time zone to cross. But yeah, we're so fortunate on the Fever side. We're now traveling almost identically to how the Pacers travel. So that's as quickly as you can do it. Pack up a game, get into the bus, get to the airport, and then the cross-country flight. And, of course, the flight takes 4 hours, and then you lose 3 coming here. So that's just kind of how it works. And it's I think, just from a games and schedule-wise, not necessarily opponent, maybe the toughest 4-day stretch for the Fever. You get in early this morning, game tomorrow, and then one of your 2 back-to-backs is on Friday. Now, LA and Dallas, 2 of the teams that are closer to the bottom than the top, so maybe that's a little bit helpful. But yeah, it's a crazy stretch here.
It's Pat Boyland joins us. He's the voice of the Fever, also from the Pacer Radio Network on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So did they play last night in Seattle? Did they used to play in Tacoma? Is that true?
I'm not sure if that's true. At least since I've been doing this, either in person, which has just been the last 2 years, or remotely in that Climate Pledge. But it's possible. They've moved around. That Climate Pledge arena is relatively new and really nice. So I don't know all the locations they've played. So
that's not the old Key Arena, right? As the Sonics played in years ago.
It's definitely not. It's possible that it's in the same location. I'm actually not 100% sure on that. But it's a gorgeous arena. It's the home of the Kraken. And what they are hopeful for will be the home of a new NBA team. In fact, if you walk in the back bowels of the arena, there's an area that is set aside that actually says NBA locker rooms on there. I think they're trying to just kind of speak it into existence. But that's their plan. It's certainly a nice enough arena to host an NBA team and already host their WNBA team and their NHL team out.
How impressive is a win when your superstar shoots the ball as bad, ineffectively as Caitlin Clark did last night, and then turned the ball over 8 times too?
Yeah. To me, that's the storyline because, look, you're not going to get many nights like this from Caitlin Clark. But to be the type of team that, this group feels like it can be, and granted, they've dealt with more challenges and turmoil than certainly they were hoping to deal with. And, hopefully that a lot of that is behind them. But you have to be able to win games like this. You have to be able to win games. Caitlin Clark can't be there to be superhero 44 nights of the year. That's just not realistic. She missed a few being injured. And the Fever did all right during that stretch. I think they would have overall liked to have played maybe a little bit better. But a night like last night where Caitlin Clark, frankly, struggles and is going to be one of, I think, her few off nights of the year, well, Aaliyah Boston has a career high, and Kelsey Mitchell has a season high. And Lexi Hull, first career double-double, she had 15 points, was really, really good. Demir Santos off the bench. So, yeah, over the course of the season, you have to find lots of ways to win, and I thought really significant to be able to do it on one of those nights where you didn't need Caitlin Clark heroics. You didn't need her to hit 7 threes. You found other ways to win, and that'll be, I think one of the storylines of this team. You hopefully don't see a whole lot of that much more, and I would be very surprised if you saw many stat lines like this the rest of the way from Caitlin Clark, but she single-handedly can't do this, and there's a lot of talent on this Fever team, and I think last night showed that.
It's Pat Boylan's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I would agree with that, too. The other thing I'd agree with is it's weird because Seattle's good, a good, talented team, but and I don't know if this is common, but I would think that if you're going to try to defend, the corner 3 with Lexi Hull, you don't really do that very well. I mean, she got a lot of wide open step into it looks from her hottest spot on the floor. That was kind of weird, the lack of adjustment that was never made last night. At least that's one of the things that stuck out to me, and clearly the Fever took advantage of that.
Yeah, and some of that too is Caitlin Clark, as good as she is and as much attention as she gets, I think in a lot of ways still doesn't get enough credit for some of the things she does.
Sure.
Including even when she has nights where she turns it over more than she'd like, and when the shot isn't falling, her spacing on the floor and just her mere presence opens up all sorts of other stuff. And Lexi Hull is becoming a player where if you leave her open, especially in the corner, it's almost a surefire bet. I mean, I haven't looked at the league ratings as of this morning, but she finished second in the league in three-point shooting last year. She was third coming into the game against Seattle, where she knocked down a couple, was 2 of 4. And you said it correctly. Seattle's a good team. I mean, Skylar Diggins, who's an Indiana product, is still a perennial all-star out there. Nneka Ogwumike is a former MVP. They were 9-5 going into that game. They're one of the teams you think of, maybe not as one of the top 2 title contenders, but in that upper echelon, in that upper tier, a team like Indiana that hopes to be fighting for home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs when the season comes to an end. I think it's very possible that we're talking here in September and Indiana and Seattle are kind of duking it out for position. And really the way the road trip had gone, disappointing because you blew double-digit leads in those first 2 games, but saw a lot of positives. You weren't just able to turn those positives into wins. So in San Francisco, double-digit lead, 13-point lead, couldn't hold it. In Las Vegas, 10-point lead, couldn't hold it. but last night got that lead up to 19, and I thought that was critical to really put that game away in the fourth quarter.
What do you think's going on with Caitlin Clark? She started when she came back. I mean, obviously on fire, and it seems like since maybe the finger in the eye situation, certainly since that point in time, the last two, we'll certainly say, it hasn't been there from distance or really shooting wise whatsoever. What plays a role here?
Yeah, it's a good question. Debbie Antonelli made the point on our broadcast, and, she didn't want to make this point too hard because she's not in her shoes, but that she felt like maybe that she was just not quite 100% in terms of just maybe being a little bit under the weather. Perhaps she is dealing with something small that, the team's not going to put out every single small thing everybody's going through, but I think that was a possibility. It was something that Debbie noticed, and I wouldn't make note of it unless Debbie did because she has such a keen eye for those type of things. And, unfortunately this season, the early season has had more challenges and turmoil than she would have liked. She dealt with a quad injury, in the preseason, came back and cost her 5 games during the regular season. The nonsense that you're referencing involving Marina Mabry and getting knocked down to the floor. I mean, she's been through it. She's been through it here in what's already been a short portion of the season. And then what I just tend to think more than anything is just a few games where she struggled to shoot lumped together. But other than that, over the course of a season, hopefully you're not really remembering this stretch. And I think that'll be the case. It's interesting because at home she's shooting lights out, and on the road she struggled. I think both of those are probably just a little bit of statistical anomalies that'll come back down to earth as you play more games. She's even just early in year number 2, she's like the last player, I think, in the entire WNBA that I worry about. And that's not to say that she doesn't have areas that she can still improve upon and that she's not going to get better. Of course she is, and of course she does. But I don't see this being an issue that extends much longer, and it wouldn't shock me in the least bit tomorrow against the Sparks if she came out and was 6 of 8 from the three-point line and had one of those, 25, 10, and 8 type of stat lines that we become accustomed to.
So Pat Boyland on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southeastern Marion County, and get ready, Shelby and Hancock counties coming up until 4:15. In fact, the storm, I think, in the last 6 minutes around Wanamaker and Acton. Also a little bit of activity on the near south side around Southport. So we'll keep you updated as much as we can regarding that severe thunderstorm warning for southeast Marion County, and probably here relatively soon both Shelby and Hancock counties. We'll keep you updated as Pat Boylan is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The thing that occurred to me when you're shooting it at that clip as Caitlin Clark is, and then turning it over as well, the one thing she doesn't shy away from, and I'll give credit where credit is due because I think this is pretty awesome, she doesn't shy away from the degree of difficulty. You know what I mean? It's still the step back, lengthy threes. You still do that because that's what you do. You still make those pocket tight window passes, bounce passes. All these things are to me a high degree of difficulty she doesn't shy away from, even if she's not playing well in those categories at that moment.
Yeah, and it's the hallmark of a great player is the confidence level never really seems to waver despite whether the ball is going in or not. And look, I think over the course of her career, you'll see the turnover numbers come down, but I think they're a little misleading because she makes so many passes that lead to buckets that literally nobody else in the WNBA can make. And with those, you're just, in my opinion, kind of have to accept that a couple of them are going to get deflected and turn over, but on balance, that's a good equation. And if you look at the Fever's turnover numbers as a team, they're just fine. So a lot of it is just she's got the ball in her hands more than any player in the WNBA. A lot of it is she makes so many plays happen that even in year 2, literally nobody else is capable of. And the turnover numbers, I do think, will go down over the course of time. But I think the positives of what she brings far outweigh, sometimes a higher turnover number, and some of that is floor spacing. And she's not, what makes her so incredible, part of what makes her so incredible is, she has the numbers that she does, and she's not taking 3-point shots that are open with an inch separating her toe in the 3-point line. She's taking side step, back step, crossover, on the dribble. Rarely is she catch and shoot, although I think Stephanie White has done a nice job of getting her more catch and shoot opportunities than she had last year. And then, back to a point that we were just talking about, her mere presence on the floor is so impactful for this team. I mean, it makes life easier on Kelsey Mitchell. It makes life easier on Aaliyah Boston. And those are two players that when they get into space and when they're playing with the confidence that they played with last night, I mean, this Fever team's really hard to beat. You think about the fact that Indiana went into Seattle, was up by 19 points on the road against a really good team on the 7th day of a road trip, and Caitlin Clark wasn't playing well. That gives you an idea of the ceiling of where this team can be. It's still really, really high. And the record right now at 7-7, they dealt through some injuries and all of that. But I still look at this team from the prism of, I think it's still early enough that you look at it, what can they accomplish? Where is their ceiling? Where can they go? And ironically, a night like last night where Caitlin Clark struggles showed me that maybe more than any, because she's going to get it right. She's going to be really good. And if you can get Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull and some of these other players playing anywhere near the level that they did last night, I'm still a firm believer that this team has one of the highest ceilings in the entire WNBA.
Pat, clearly they did not want this evolving into a supercharged soap opera, but what the hell went on with DeWanna Bonner? Was it as simple as she was not getting the clock that she expected in the capacity in which she thought they were going to when she signed here? Why did all of this dissolve as quickly as it did? Because really, the Fever went from, hey, support, and, we're going to support her, to, all right, you're done. It was like 0 to 60 and then a deceleration. What happened in this overall picture to lead to it?
Yeah, I'll be honest, a lot of that is information that I just frankly don't know and have kind of been along for the ride on with everybody else. It's certainly, a disappointing outcome, because when this season started and when this offseason happened, I think you looked at this as one of the great offseason moves, being able to bring in somebody still playing at the level that she was, but also with the experience that she brings. And she's the winningest player in terms of playoff wins in the history of the WNBA. But look, I mean, to her credit, she's done an unbelievable job of fighting off Father Time. And I don't know if that's all of what happened here. I mean, she was an all-star last year, but at some point, Father Time does eventually win that battle, and she never, to me, looked anywhere near the player that we had seen the last couple of years. And it's possible it was, as simple as that, is that she was able to hold off Father Time for a long time, and she's 37. Not many players are starting in the NBA or the WNBA at 37, and I think it became apparent to me at bare minimum, and obviously Stephanie White felt the same way, that Lexi Hull was the person for, that starting lineup spot. I mean, she's playing really well. She's defending at a really high level. And Hull is a great floor runner with the pace that the Fever want to play in, So unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot of what happened in that situation. It's certainly disappointing because it's not the outcome you wanted. And I think a lot of people at the beginning of the season hoped that she would, be a big part in the success story this year. That's clearly not happening, but as a franchise, you have to be able to pivot quickly when things don't go the way that you've expected. And, I think that's obviously the goal here and a realistic expectation. And Ari McDonald simultaneously signed in this move somebody the Fever got to know well during the Caitlin Clark injury. She came in and played at a really high level. So, I think if there's a silver lining, it's that you've seen this team still play at, in my opinion, the championship caliber that you hoped you'd be able to see. And they've been able to do that without DeWanna Bonner really looking like the all-star that she was a year ago. But certainly a situation that is unique and you were hopeful certainly wouldn't happen. At the same time, I think, this team has transitioned well and has transitioned quickly, and we'll need to keep doing that here to have the type of season they're hopeful for.
Is Pat Boyland the voice of the Fever back tomorrow night at home versus the LA Sparks, and then back on the road again, I believe, after that. And then once they go to Dallas, back home and get a little bit of rest for about 6 days, then get back at it as well. Pat, also a part of the Pacers radio network. So what's your expectation coming up in this offseason? Because that is one of the things about going as deep as they did. They went the distance in 7 games of the NBA Finals against OKC, but you don't have a lot of time to sit back, relax, and decompress. You got to go right at it, whether it's the draft, and we know they have a second rounder coming up tomorrow night of the NBA draft. But then with the Halliburton situation, you got to find ways and means and measures to take moving forward coming up this year. What do you think that looks like?
Yeah, I think the first thing that stands out is just, how quickly all of this has to happen, because when you make a run to Game 7 of the finals and you play on June 22nd, it's amazing. A couple days pass, and here you are at the NBA draft, which begins here today, and the Pacers will pick, in the second round. I mean, what a just incredible moment for the Pacers to get that draft pick of their own back. I mean, I think it's a small silver lining, but that trade that they made a few days before the injury, potentially could be massive. It's a fascinating question. It's one that I don't think I've had enough time to fully wrap my head around. It's so disheartening to even be having it, because, as if losing Game 7 of the NBA Finals wasn't mentally taxing enough, now you have to think about, potentially a whole year without your superstar and your best player, and what that looks like and what it means for the team next year. But, in the long term, you have Chad on all the time. I mean, he does such a good job, I think, of looking at things in the different lenses, short term, medium term, long term. And frankly, I'm glad that it's he and, of course, Kevin Pritchard and Ted Wu and that group making decisions, because they've made almost all correct decisions over the last few years. And it's just amazing when you make the finals, then how quickly the rest of the offseason comes. And that's not to say the Pacers have to figure everything out here in the next couple of weeks, but to be honest with you, I expect this team to be one that still competes next year. There's just too much talent on this roster to not do that. Now, again, expectations of last year happening next year, that would be pretty tough to say. But at the same time, potentially a really good opportunity for some guys like Andrew Nembhard and Benedict Mathurin and Jarris Walker to get, more experience and to maybe grow. And I think you just have to hope, and it's certainly a hope, and it's me thinking glass half full here on a really tough situation. But maybe one day in a couple of years, you'll be looking back at this and you'll see, who knows, Mathurin hit another level because he got this opportunity. Nembhard hit another level because of this opportunity, perhaps a acquisition that you maybe otherwise wouldn't have made that helps propel this team in a few years. I think that's what you have to hope for. And again, you've got the decision makers in place to, I think, pull something like that off. I can't imagine the amount of hair grabbing going on in the front office after watching that happen, because it seemed like you set this thing up so perfectly. And then the situation happens, but it's certainly for people smarter than I am. And it'll be interesting to see which route they take and where things go from here, starting with that 54th pick in the draft, which realistically maybe not a big difference maker next year or in the next couple of years, but it is the first domino to fall, as you said, which will fall tomorrow.
So Pat Boyland, not a lot of people smarter than Pat Boyland out there. Let me tell you that right now as he joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. All right, go get a little bit of shut-eye, get prepared for tomorrow night. And we'll do this again, and we'll see what happens with both. You'll get to balance the fever between what the Fever are doing on the court and what the Pacers are doing off the court. So we'll check in again soon, Pat. I appreciate you.
John, always happy to talk Fever and Pacers with you, and I assure you, at least right now on the 3 hours of sleep, I'm nowhere near the top of the IQ list in Indianapolis.
Man, you sound like you're a little bit wired. You're wired, not going to sleep after we hang up, are you?
Coffee helps.
Good, man. Wired is Pat Boyland right now. Thank you, my brother.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Pat Boyland's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. MLB tonight, 7:10, Reds and Yankees. Reds going for the sweep. Cubs and the Cardinals going for a sweep, too, over the Cubs. Man, Cubs, I don't like you either, but, man, the Cardinals? I think I looked in the NL Central. Cubs 2.5 in front of both the Cardinals and the Brewers, and the Reds are 4.5 back right now. We'll see if they make this thing interesting. It's your MLB coming up later on tonight. Hey, by the way, too, 7:10 Yankees and Reds from Great American Cubs and Cardinals from Busch tonight at 7:45. We shall take a break. We got Bob Kravitz coming up. I got time for your calls at 239-1070. I've got a reminder for you. Tomorrow is going to be live in Broad Ripple. I'll explain. And we've got the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day. Got a ton of stuff going on. And the return of a segment that has been a month delayed because of the Pacers. Hey, that and more coming up. The AAA Membership Lounge. It's YouTube Live. Don't go anywhere. Your calls and more at 239-1070 next.
contradiction.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It is. You just contradicted me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
No.
You did just then.
No, nonsense.
Oh, look, this is futile.
No, it isn't.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, I like Luther Vandross. R.I.P. This has become a Yacht Rock staple. I feel like some Yacht Rock coming up on Saturday night, too. That is severe thunderstorm warning for southeast Marion County. I don't know where that stands right now because I can't see outside. My AccuWeather forecast suggests that there are going to be pop-ups everywhere. Just think about, fellas, yourself as a 12-year-old, pop-ups everywhere in terms of storms around here today. It just happens with the air being as thick that it is, right? Hell, I don't know what I'm talking about here. Just expect it, right? It's summertime. It's late June. It's in the 90s, hot and humid. Just expect it. Hey, the Awesome Gritty says, I saw Prince at Robert Stadium back in 1998. It was awesome indeed. JMV, he's completely bat blank, but when Kanye rapped, you know how long I've been on you since Prince was on Apollonia is still a strong verse. Thank you. It's pretty funny. Hey, Jeremiah, that your reaction to me tagging Kevin Bowen with wanting Russell Westbrook, that's exactly why I did it. You reinforce why I did it. Had Kevin Bowen on a little bit earlier and said, so, hey, Kev, I hear that you want Russell Westbrook in here this year for the Pacers. So I can't. So now that is going to become on Kevin Bowen. And that's what I was looking for right there. Jeremiah, well done. I could not have asked for anything better. JMV, thanks for having Benner on. That was really cool. Yeah, Bill Benner was on the show a little bit earlier. I wanted to have him on because I brought up Robin Miller yesterday because it was the anniversary back in 2007 of Robin Miller having the ultimate blooper on Speed TV at the Cleveland Raceway, whatever that was, back in 2007. Just a great blooper. It's not even a blooper with R. It was just R being R. But I had mentioned and talked about this a little bit about how R would have been just fantastic. You think about the month of May and Team Penske and what took place there. But then to have a run all the way to a decisive Game 7 of the NBA Finals just would have been incredible Robin Miller material. And then with Robin Miller, I thought about David Benner, the late brother of Bill Benner, being the longtime media guru of the Pacers, just doing it as well as you could perform that job. Former beat writer for the Pacers. So I felt compelled to reach out to Bill Benner and have him on at the start of the show because of that very thing, that very reason. And we got the opportunity to reminisce over a variety of things. And, man, I know a lot of you out there, you may not be old enough to recollect, and I understand it. That's why I had to go into a little bit of detail about what we were talking about. But if you're not old enough to remember some of those times, it truly was special. And Bill brought up the late Jim Morris, and obviously Slick Leonard, because that's exactly how special that was. And for those that suggest, it wasn't special because they didn't win it all, or if you don't finish first, you finish last, whatever that is, that doesn't apply here. You're still okay to embrace an incredible season, even if in that Game 7, another team won and OKC took home the title. You're still allowed to do it. It's okay. And I know we go through these things all the time, and well, that's just the defeatist mentality. No, that's being a realist. That's not a defeatist mentality at all. The realist in me completely understands how compelling this postseason was, how big this was in so many ways. Look what it did for all of you. I saw all of you out there. Wherever we went, you guys were there. We were all hanging out, enjoying it. And there is always going to be a level of disappointment, whether we're talking about the fourth quarter of game number 4 or the third quarter of game number 7. There's always going to be disappointment. But that doesn't mean you wipe the slate clean on what type of season, and especially a postseason in this case, what it meant to so many, because it truly was meaningful. I know it's different, too. The dynamic with Tyrese Halliburton not being able to play coming up next year is a tough one. But that still should not take away from just how outstanding all of it was. Think about all those incredible moments. The game winners. And believe me, the good fortune always goes along with being good. It's great to have good fortune riding shotgun with you being good. And the Pacers had that, basically up until the 7 minutes in to the 7th and decisive game. And you'll always remember that. And I'm sure negatively, you'll always remember the fourth quarter of game 4 and the third quarter of game 7. But all in all, about as special as it gets. I don't think that aspect is going away anytime soon. You got the NBA draft coming up later on tonight, round number 1. We'll sit back and probably watch. But at the same time, unless it becomes meaningful from a Pacer angle, whatever happens, right? And then things get underway to see exactly what the Pacers do, whether it's Miles coming back or what you think about doing at the point. Are you happy with what you have? Do you make any changes whatsoever, any adjustments whatsoever? That's when it happens. But it has been an incredible time, to say the least. Yeah, show live tomorrow. I mentioned this in Broad Ripple. We're at Old Pros Table, OPTs, coming up tomorrow. Heaven Hill Distillery, that is a tavern tour stop. There is zero need to RSVP. We will just take you on your word that you're going to show up and hang out with us coming up tomorrow. It's been forever since Brent Halverson and I had the opportunity to hang out. Cannot wait to do that coming up tomorrow. So OPTs in Broad Ripple tomorrow. And from what I understand, we have a number of fun as hell things that are coming up in the month of July, too. And before you know it, we're going to be talking about the Colts and the quarterback situation again, and I know you all cannot wait for that. Who's sitting on the edge of their seat so we can once again begin to discuss the Colts and the quarterback situation? I, for one, cannot wait. I'm going to hold my breath. Cannot wait for it. And before you know it, in less than a month, camp in Westfield will be here. Somebody sent me a picture of them putting up the bleachers at Grand Park in Westfield. And before you know it, we'll be up there every day and be doing what we do and getting you set for the 2025 NFL season. And the college season, too. By the way, Phil Steele's got to come on at some point. This is normally getting into July Phil Steele territory. Everybody goes on vacation, all the dudes. If there's one magazine you guys still crack, it's probably the Phil Steele magazine. At some point, we got to get that on again. Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day. Get signed up for that, too. Dating a Virgin is one of the horses that there's zero. That had to be just made up for me right there. They said, okay, we're going to be doing this with JMV today. Let's go ahead and make sure that this horse is involved. 50-50 in betting and dining vouchers, courtesy of Harris Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. That's coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com. His thoughts on, directionally speaking, the Pacers coming up here in the short-term future. That means next season. And, man, what else is going on in the NBA? The deceleration of the Celtics, to get under that second apron of the salary cap. If you want to call it a fire sale, I guess you call it a fire sale. And other teams, what you're thinking about doing out there as well, coming up here prior to the draft or during tonight's draft, and then as we get into the month of July as well. Quick break, we'll come back. Bob Kravitz in the 5 o'clock hour. 239-1070 for you and I. Also coming up, too, the latest in afternoon baseball. And the games of interest coming up later on tonight in MLB. The Fever a winner last night. The Fever off tonight, back against the LA Sparks at home. That is coming up tomorrow. That's a game in which you can witness right here, correct? Is Eddie Garrison going to be back? I'm assuming so. Hey, shout out to Nathaniel Finch with the pregame yesterday. Late last night, in fact. Well done by Nathaniel taking over Eddie, who was over at Great American watching the Reds win in extras over the Yankees. Quick break. We'll come back. You and I on the other side with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
with JMV.
I love JMV. He looks like Rascal Flatts guy.
Got a cool soul patch.
He does, and a buttery smooth voice.
Oh, yeah.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Now. I got a good question. I'll ask this in the 5 o'clock hour. I'll lob it out to you guys as well. Tavern tour stops at OPTs in Broad Ripple tomorrow. Heaven Hill Distillery. You know where this band's from? You don't? The
Not a
Daz
clue.
Band?
No.
Cleveland, Ohio, I believe, right?
Never even heard of them before I clicked on the song.
Well done. The Daz Band, I think, is from Cleveland, Ohio. All right, I want to start with Brandon on the other side. We got to get going here, or do I have time for Brandon here?
Probably better on the other side.
Hey, Brandon, I'm going to give you full-scale opportunity to yip-yap coming up on the other side, along with everybody else at 239-1070. I do need to hit a break here at the top of the hour, but we will talk about the Pacers off-season. I'm assuming that's the direction Brandon wants to go. We'll do that and talk about a lot of other stuff, including your chance to win 50 in betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. With the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day, Bob Kravitz has got about 30 minutes coming up at 5:30. So, hey, plenty of time. Brandon leads on the other side. Broad Ripple OPTs tomorrow. Cannot wait to see. It's been a week since I've been out. The last time I was out, we were at District Tap downtown before game number 6. And it was me. Remember that final hour? Me and JJ. And Chris Denary and wife Terry Denary all taking shots. It was beautiful. See, those are the moments that I'm going to remember more than anything else with that playoff run. Moments like that. Moments like that with you. So tomorrow we're back out on the road in Broad Ripple at OPTs. Cannot wait to see you there. Calls on the other side. Bob Kravitz coming up in a little over 30 minutes. And your chance to win 50 in betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. The Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
We have the holy hand grenade.
Yes, of course. The holy hand grenade of Antioch. Right. 1, 2, 5. 3, sir. 3.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, somebody just brought this to my attention. I mentioned 41 years to the day. This soundtrack, Purple Rain from Prince of the Revolution, was unleashed around the globe. And this clearly is at the top of the list of 80 soundtracks of all time. And somebody asked me top 5. You want my top 5 right here? This hopefully doesn't leave anybody out. But you go Purple Rain, Rocky IV, Vision Quest. What's that, 3? I would almost mention Urban Cowboy. 4 right there. And see, I'm going to end up, yeah. Not so much The Breakfast Club, maybe 16 Candles. There's got to be a John Hughes in there somewhere, right? I'm going to start right there. Those are 5 decent ones, I think. Thank you for asking. Tonight's NBA Draft round number 1, where Cooper Flagg, make no mistake about it, no mystery there, will go number 1 overall to the Dallas Mavericks. Dylan Harper, Con Knipple, Ace Bailey, Jeremiah Fears, Trey Johnson, all other notables at some point that will be going. Round 2's coming up tomorrow. And the Pacers, as of right now, roll off at 54, I believe? If you believe in this stuff, which you shouldn't, NBADraft.net has them going with Jameer Watkins out of Florida State. Trying to see which other players are in that general vicinity. That's Danny Wolf of Michigan falling into round number 2, the 7-footer that played for Dusty May. Yeah, it's tough to come up with a lot of interest in this. I get it. Especially after that. Yeah, Michael says, Lake Minnetonka was a great moment. All right, 239-1070. I've got time for some calls. You guys can work them in because Bob Kravitz at the bottom of the hour. Baseball later on tonight with the Reds versus the Yankees in Cincy, the Cardinals and the Cubs in St. Louis. The Fever a winner last night. Pat Boyland a little bit earlier described that. And then I don't know if I want to call it an ordeal because it is now over, with DeWanna Bonner getting cut loose. Didn't like the PT or the fit on the team, and evidently threw a fit and was released. Waived and done here. Now, Fever and the Sparks of L.A. coming up tomorrow night. And, of course, all the Pacer conversation that we can muster right here for you. Roadshow tomorrow, and then the Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day for a Wednesday later on this afternoon at the 5 o'clock hour. Brandon's at 239-1070. Kick this bad boy off. Brandon, how are you?
Hey, JMV, how's it going?
Brandon, I'm fantastic. What do you got for me, buddy?
Well, I plan on being at PTO's tomorrow.
Oh, I cannot wait to see you. Old Pros Table with Heaven Hill Distillery. Me and you and Brent Halverson. That's a hell of a start.
Will they have good food there?
Of course.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to
You got it,
things.
brother.
Hey,
you got it.
You know, as far as the Pacers go, I agree with what you say. I think you bring what you have back. Now you have to understand Halliburton's not going to be there, which, we all get that. But if there's a guard or something out there that you can get to maybe hold you by.
Something makes sense. Yeah, I'm not against that whatsoever. And that may be, listen, I may be, Brandon, completely off in my assertion about what the Pacers are going to do. I just think it'd be weird if you end up going completely different if you show such a lack of belief in what else you have right here, considering, I've spent the entirety of the year touting just how great of a team concept we have, or they have right here, that we have seen this particular season. So that's one of the reasons why I feel they're just going to go ahead and keep it, and maintain much of this core and move forward. But, we'll see. And I would not be at all surprised if they decide to try to reel in somebody for a little bit of helper right here.
Right, because, you might need to, but, whoever said break it off, blow it off, that's just dumb. I don't think you have
It is just dumb, Brandon, exactly right.
Yeah.
Just dumb.
And And we got to remember Isaiah Jackson is coming back, so we'll have
He
that.
is.
So, all right, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
Brandon, I can't wait. Tomorrow,
All right,
OPTs, old pros. Come on, dude. Old pros table. That's on me. And we're going to be in Broad Ripple. James forgot to bring that down, so we got that cool sound. What are you doing over there, James? James is doing something different.
I'm cutting audio.
Good. Got to multitask, son. Come on. Cutting audio is what we're doing. Jamie's next at 239-1070. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Hello. I got the ultimate Pacers Homer hot take for you.
Oh, I cannot wait for the Homer hot take on this Wednesday because the hot take would, considering the weather, fit right in. Go ahead, Jamie.
All right. So my idea is Halliburton gets ready back right before the playoffs. Pacers barely squeeze in the play-in, and we become the first team that wins the title from a play-in game.
Yeah, that's a hot take. That's a hot take right there. So I would like to think. Well, no, I understand. It may be a play-in scenario for them. Listen. I know that I've kind of overwhelmed people with my belief in the rest of this team and how they can play without Halliburton. I don't think that is unfounded confidence in this group, but it will be much tougher than I know it sounds like I detail here the past couple of days with this in mind. It will be a lot tougher than that. I've kind of made, Jamie, I don't know if you've taken from what I have said, it's almost like I dismiss the rest of the East, and I'm not doing that whatsoever because you're going to see, improvement. I didn't mention the Pistons. The Pistons are going to be a team certainly that we saw this past year that are on the rise. Orlando's going to be on the rise. So I probably shouldn't shortchange everybody else, but I just want to maintain, Jamie, my belief in this core in what they have built. And I also don't want to be hypocritical in talking all year about the greatness of this team. And then even with the magnitude of the loss of Tyrese Halliburton, suggesting that all is going to be lost because of that. I do have a deeply rooted belief, and I certainly believe in this core group more than I think a lot of people do, even without Tyrese Halliburton next year.
Sounds great. Thanks, man.
Jamie's incredible hot take. Yeah, I should probably not sound like I completely dismiss the rest of the East. Who knows what Boston's going to end up putting together? It looks like Fire Sale City right now to get below that second apron of the luxury tax. Porzingis to Atlanta. Holiday to Portland. Still may not be done. We'll see just how heavily they shop Jaylen Brown coming up later on this evening or, as we move past the first round of the NBA draft. My non-belief, there's been one team that was so disappointed because they're always injured. You just never expect them to be healthy, is that of the Philadelphia 76ers. They do have some significant pieces, but health has not been one of those. And really, smart's real good's not been one of those either. So I don't have a belief in them, but it could be better. Milwaukee, because they have one of the, if not the definitive player in the NBA, could end up being a lot better than I think. I mentioned Orlando and the Pistons being a lot better. Probably should slide in depending upon what they end up doing in Miami. I saw the Bulls are shopping Patrick Williams and Nikola Vucevic as well. So once the smoke clears here, things may look a hell of a lot different. And, the Pacers may be at an interesting level involved in a little bit of it. But I just like and I do trust and believe in what they have. I had this belief a year ago, and that was with Tyrese Halliburton, so certainly that is different. But I have not lost in that level of belief up until this point. OPT's Broad Ripple tomorrow, Heaven Hill Distillery Tavern Tour Stop, month of July. Should be fun. And I can't wait to see Brent. It's been a long time, like over a month it feels right here. And everything has been focused. It has been awesome, though. Focused on the Pacers. 239-1070. Tyler has phoned, and Tyler is next on the show. Tyler, hello.
Hey, John, first-time caller, long-time listener.
Where are we calling from, Tyler, as a first-timer today?
Right now, I'm on my way back from mowing grass in Avon.
Mowing grass and Avon. Did we sweat just a little bit out there today, buddy?
We sweated. We got rained on. But we got it done just in time.
Got a mixed bag. I tell you what, I do dig mowing. I don't mind mowing whatsoever. I'm good with that. So well done, Tyler.
I'm in agreement with you, and you got to think, if you run it back with these guys, you know, that opens up minutes for everybody. Who's to say, okay, maybe we don't make as deep of a run next year, but everybody gets better. Everybody gets that experience, gets minutes. You know, this is still a relatively young team. You got to think everybody's just going to get better with that experience, and it just makes us deeper.
Yeah. And that's kind of there is intrigue, too, in putting some guys in position with more clock and under different circumstances that we haven't seen. I mean, there is that ultimate test. I think, Tyler, a lot of people kind of view going where they're going right now as, you know, those that suggest, well, you need to start somewhat new. And I kind of look at it as you are here. You're going to see, you know, what you really truly have in Matherin, as I believe he's going to be thrust into the starting lineup. You're going to see what you truly have, you know, as the point guard, which he's played that role, don't get me wrong, but I think everything changes dramatically, and there's so much more on the shoulders of guys without Halliburton. You're going to see what a lot of dudes are made of that maybe we don't have an answer for right now, Tyler, if that makes sense.
Oh, I would definitely agree with that. I just think, like, pressure makes the diamonds. Let them see if they can step up.
So what else you got, Tyler, after mowing?
Not much. Headed back to the house to drink some Colorado Kool-Aid, and I will see you at OPT tomorrow.
All right, brother. I appreciate that, man. Stay cool. Tyler's mowing in Avon. A little rain here or there. Get a lot of heat. So Real Deal Gibson writes this. Let's play a hypothetical, JMV, with no guarantees. What if Miles Turner does not resign? What are your thoughts? What do we do? Well, I'll start right here with that, because that is a hell of a question. If he doesn't resign, that's because the Pacers deem him not worthy of bringing him back at a number, or have decided here, because the wheels were already in motion to get that done. And that's why I think it's going to get done. But you had me bring up the hypothetical, and we will. That, to me, means the Pacers don't believe at all into next year, and then that's that until Halliburton returns. Zero belief. It has nothing to do with the not good offense in the finals, the shrinkage offensively in the finals. It has everything to do with the point in time where they think, at least for next year, all is significantly going to be lost without Tyrese Halliburton. And you're going to go in a similar direction. I also think that speaks to the rest of that roster and a non-belief, too. Again, this is hypothetical. This is not suggesting that's how they feel. I just understand that they were going in a direction prior to the finals that I don't think there's going to be a significant amount of change in. But, again, playing with the question that you ask, then I think that is a hypothetical reset of sorts right there, Gibson. And what do? Well, you play it out until next year. You position yourself as best you can. And, I mean, I don't think you do anything in this free agency at all. And I think part of that hypothetical would be that Miles is not going to find open market-wise anything of interest. That would have to be, sign and trade situation. And, again, that's because the Pacers don't want to lose him for nothing. and feel that his time here is over. That would be more of a Pacers decision right now. And again, hypothetically, what that would tell you is that they don't have belief without their team leader and their best player going into next year. That'd be my thought. Ray writes this: you got to think that next season is Matherin's make-or-break year with the franchise. He either blows up and gets a big extension or doesn't and is traded as a restricted free agent next summer. I can't lie, Ray and Indy. I'm very interested in seeing getting the starters minutes and his response and growth. I mean, you're kind of forced into it. Would you really, truly want to see it other than there being that significant injury? No. Would that be something you would want to do without the significant injury? No. Would I really care so much about seeing the significant playing time of Jarris Walker? No. But, again, those are the circumstances that have been created here. Thus, I guess we find ourselves kind of entertaining one another here, and those, I think, would be two entertaining angles, even if, Ray, you think you know what you have seen so far and how that's going to play out in the upcoming season. Thank you for that. 239-1070. Jay is up next on line 3. Hello, Jay. How are you?
Hey, JMV. What's happening, man?
Jay, good to hear from you. Go ahead.
I think a lot of the Pacer fans, some of them, the callers I just heard, man, is kind of talking about play-ins. But I think the Pacers might finish around 6. And I'm going to tell you, man, if they can re-sign Miles Turner, cool. I think they need to keep their options open, though, because it's a young man by the name of Johnny Broom. I don't know if you're familiar with him out of Auburn, that I think they need to try to get tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. He might go in the second round.
Are you talking about Broom? Broom, 6'10" guy? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think he's an animal. And I think Matherin, man, is going to have a breakout. I think him and Siakam going to act a fool next year. Fool meaning they're going to win some games. Yeah, so that's my take on that.
I've got a great deal of trust in him right now. I do. I have a great deal of trust. So,
yeah, but I think the Pacers need to try to move in, man, and see if they can get a steal in that second round tomorrow. Move up at least in the top, probably in the 30s or somewhere, and see if they can get him, man, because I think he's going to be something special.
You know, it's funny. He was at times dominant for Auburn during the season, and you know, like a lot of this translation, what is he, almost 23 years of age or something like that, with a lot of this translation, NBA lottery wise, you don't see that even at 6'10" and 250. I think a lot has been made of his lack of, you know, this modern era, and we're talking about Broom here, of lack of face up game. Jump shooting ability in this modern era right here. But we see this more often now than I think ever. You see somebody that, you know, has had a dominant season and a really late dominant career collegiately that doesn't translate to a high first-round selection, as we're going to see coming up later on tonight. It's kind of how it works nowadays.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I think he'll be a steal if they could get him. I really do. I think he'll be a beast for them as far as the rebounding and the defense and stuff like that. So I think he'll work for him. And then, like you said, he's an older player, and you know, Carlisle, you know, typically like those kind of guys, you know, that went all 4 years or 3 years or what have you.
Yep. What else you got, Jay?
That's it, man. That's my take, man.
Jay, I appreciate the call, man, as always. Thank you for chiming in. Jason says, we've heard $30 million for Miles given Pascal's contract. Are you thinking 3 or 4? Yeah. Some of me kind of wonders a little bit about this, Jason, if maybe after the finals, and like I mentioned, I think they were already going down the path, and I don't think they stray from that. But I do kind of wonder if maybe if monetarily things were at all discussed and or at all revised. Now, maybe that's, I'm not quite going, well, you know what? You got to cut it loose now. It's never going to work again. Because we did hear Rick Carlisle on the morning show yesterday morning say that this is an essential piece moving forward here in dealing with. But You do kind of wonder if you don't have any second thoughts on a number. I'm not saying years, but a number, Jason. Jeff says, sign and trade Miles to Denver for 15. You're talking about Jokic. And everybody was going off of what Josh Kroenke said yesterday, and all of a sudden on his own bringing up trading Jokic. That's pretty funny. I'm going to tell you what, that Kroenke family, they're rich, but holy crap. They can give some bad PR at times, can they not? PWC says Mathurin is traded this summer. That's his hot take right there. I'll be honest, I haven't really explored too much just outside of what you can do as fringe help more than anything else. Bob Kravitz will answer some of these questions at the bottom of the hour. Give me Chris on here on line 4. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, that's Chris anyway.
Hello, Chris.
I think, yeah, I'm here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, anyway, I think that they should try Walker in the starting lineup as the other point guard with Nembhard. And since he's played point guard in college.
So you're not ready for Mathurin to start? You don't think that's the most ideal to begin?
No, I think he would be a great starter too, but I think also they should try Walker as the other point guard, and maybe keep Mathurin coming off as a sixth man, and I think they should still sign Miles Turner because he works great with Siakam.
Chris, thank you very much. The one thing that you have brought up to me, and you've asked me about this, not so much Chris right there, but does it concern me because you're going to have a year without Halliburton? And listen, I understand completely the effect, the impact that Halliburton has had on Miles. That's the reason why. Even with the offensive fade in the finals, that is the reason why, is that Halliburton effect. So to suggest that that's not going to have an impact would be wrong. I just think, without knowing anything right now, to me, if you end up charging into next year without a great deal, and some don't believe, some believe that you have to make a great deal of change because you're not going to be good enough. But that year without Halliburton, what do? And to me, you go Nembhard, Mathurin, and then they bring back Miles, as I expect them to do, and I have expected them to do all along. And then with Nesmith and Siakam as well. I don't know if you really outthink yourself any more than that. But, the adjustments and the effect, and the other part about this is you're going to have the opportunity. You can pull the plug on this thing if you absolutely don't believe in it. Like last year, we kind of sat around and waited. Remember, get a month and a half deep into the season, and you're thinking, what the hell is going on around here? And they collectively righted the ship. Guys were injured. That's the other aspect of it. Last year you dealt with a Nesmith injury early on. That had impact too. Hey, quick one, we'll come back. Bob Kravitz is going to join us on the other side. Some of these things we shall discuss. Your calls and OPTs tomorrow on a Tavern Tour stop in Broad Ripple. Cannot wait to see you there. And we also have the Harrah's Hoosier Park Race of the Day coming up on this Wednesday with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Certainly, but
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Back to you in a second at 239-1070. James over there. I'm John. Pat Boylan a little bit earlier. Bill Benner also on the show a little bit earlier. Kevin Bowen on this program, podcast 1075thefan.com. Bobby Marks broke down some financials and what might be with the Pacers this offseason. That was back on Monday, the podcast for that, 1075thefan.com. And Broad Ripple, Old Pros Table tomorrow. Heaven Hill Distillery, that's a tavern tour stop. I cannot wait to see you. Brent Holverson and I and a host of others are good to go with you. And lots of fun, I promise. Lots of fun. You know what these things entail. Join me tomorrow. And if you're new to the show, join me and find out tomorrow. Old Pros Table, Broad Ripple, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we'll get back to your calls in a second from BobKravitz.com. It is the aforementioned Bob Kravitz who joins us. So have you thought about the path you believe the Pacers will take, knowing this is going to be a season without Tyrese Halliburton? How do you think they handle that beginning, not so much tonight, but beginning here on the inbound in the next couple of weeks going into July?
Yeah, I'm not particularly sure what their plan is. I'll be curious to see how it all plays out. But, it wouldn't kill me if they moved Ben Mathurin. It wouldn't kill me if they moved Jarris Walker. What they'd be looking for, I would assume it would be, another big, maybe another shooter. I think they're going to be fairly active here. They've got to make room for Miles Turner, so I think they're going to make some moves. I don't think it'll be anything too outrageous, but I do think they're going to be active.
He's Bob Kravitz at BobKravitz.com of the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We knew that, at least from what we had heard and what had been reported, that Steve Simon, for example, and, the Simon's cool going to the luxury tax for the first time in a long time. I guess that's not so much my question as it is, do you think they're as comfortable doing that now as they were prior to Sunday night?
Yeah, I think you've got to look at this as just one of the – look, you're still trying to make the playoffs. You're still trying to be competitive. But I don't think you just throw the next season away, even though Tyrese won't play. I think you try to continue to be a playoff team, and I think they can be, even with Nembhard at the point. I mean, I think he'll have a breakout season. So yeah.
What do they need? You said a shooter and another big. I was assuming that Isaiah Jackson is going to be back. I don't know how interested anybody would be coming off an injury, so I'd assume he's been here the entire time and working out. I'd assume he would be back as well. Like you, I believe that Miles was going to be back. And I think these were all conclusions, Bob, that were drawn prior to the start of the finals. Right. And I don't think, even with the injury, even with the way that Miles played offensively in the finals, I don't think a great deal has changed.
No, I don't either. I think Miles will be back. They'll sign him. He'll sign. I think that it just makes perfect sense. I mean, the reason they were in the finals, he's one of the main reasons why. He didn't play well in the finals. I think he averaged 10 points, 10, 12 points a game. But he's definitely part of this thing going forward. And I don't think the fact that Tyrese got hurt and will be out all of next season really has any impact on what they do with Miles.
It's Bob Kravitz of BobKravitz.com with us. Give me your overall thoughts. Last time we chatted was prior to Game 6 and ultimately lost in decisive Game 7 on Sunday. But this season in particular, the postseason, and where this team is now moving forward, even with the loss for the season upcoming with Tyrese Halliburton. Is this still the golden era of Pacer Sports Entertainment that we both talked about last Thursday?
Well, look, I mean, we're going to take a year off. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. I mean, I think they're still a playoff team. If without Halliburton, I still think they'll be, they'll be in the mix. But yeah, I mean, it's just devastating. I wrote the day before Game 6. I said, we've seen this with Kevin Durant, and I just had a bad feeling. And when he went down, I was just like, oh, you could see the pop in the calf. It was devastating. So, no, I think they move forward, trying to continue to improve this team, try to make the playoffs. And, yeah, I still – look, next year they're not going to be a championship contender. But, once Tyrese comes back, I think he just sets the table for the year after next.
You have any qualifiers at all in how Tyrese Halliburton returns with the expectations? I mean, everything okay moving forward? Because, I mean, oftentimes you kind of worry about this or that coming off such a substantial injury. You have any concerns about – because I don't, honestly. I think he's going to be fine and take over and still, do what he normally does with his game in mind. But do you have any concerns regarding that?
Well, a little bit. I mean, ruptured Achilles tendon is no small thing. And it's 10 to 12 months recovery. How he's going to look when he comes back the year after next, we don't know. And he's the type of player who needs that explosion, the way he plays. So, yeah, I think he'll be fine. But, yeah, I think you have to be concerned just the way you're concerned about Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum. But, Durant came back and he was just fine. So, I think everything will work out pretty well for Indiana.
Why have we seen? Is it just major coincidence? Why have we seen so many Achilles situations here?
I was talking to a friend of mine today playing golf. I couldn't remember this many Achilles tears back in the day. Do you?
No, I don't. Not at all.
I don't. And these guys are in the best physical condition you can possibly imagine. And they're still blowing out Achilles left and right. I don't know if it's because of the number of games they play. I mean, the Pacers played how many games this year? 100? With the playoffs. So things will happen when you play that many games. But you knew that this was a risk. He knew that this was a risk. And it came up in the most, it happened in the most unfortunate way.
I think it's just all encompassing. I think not just the number of games in a season, but the number of games in general, the pace in general, and I think ultimately the grind of that, because they make these courts as soft and you get all the attention. But that much at that pace, at some point, it's probably going to get most out there unless you're incredibly fortunate, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, they played, I think it was 101 games or something like that. But you would think with the medical help that they get now, but they did say that this would ordinarily be a 2-week injury. So he knew what the score was, going into this game, into Game 6, and it was just painful to watch.
Yeah, I mean, for a variety of reasons. I think he's going to go down in history as one of the biggest badasses of all time for doing that and going out there in the style in which he did. But, yeah, you pay the price, unfortunately.
what kills me is, like, I remember during the Cleveland series, and Stephen A. is talking about Darius Garland and saying if he can walk, he's got to play. I'm like, what kind of BS is that? I mean, the guy had surgery as soon as the season was over. You know, I will never question a guy's toughness because he doesn't deal with an injury. If Tyrese had decided that he was going to sit games 6 and maybe 7, I would not have had any problem with that. I know people would have, and some media would have said he's soft.
Well, I mean, the media, there was many, including Skip Bayless, suggesting that it wasn't true, that it was all fake.
I know.
Which
I know.
And see, that's where they all make it so much worse. It's like driving people away from watching what was a great finals because you don't like it, and because in a lot of ways you weren't educated about it, especially with one team over the other. In the first place, it's all been incredibly detrimental to so many situations with this in mind.
Yeah, no, I saw the thing from Skip, and it was just sickening. You know, I mean, to question the severity of an injury. You remember many years ago. Remember J.R. Richards?
Oh yeah,
pitched for the Houston Astros.
Yep.
And I remember people were giving him grief because he missed a couple of starts because he was having headaches. Turned out it was a damn stroke.
Yeah.
And it damn near killed him. So, you know, as a journalist, I will never question anybody's toughness if they decide to sit one out.
No, it is. I guess when you get to that point, if you're somebody like Bayless and you're just saying stuff to say stuff because that's your stick, that's the joke of it all right there.
It is. He's a bad dude. He just is. I've dealt with him, and you know, as a friend of mine once said of Skip, he has no soul.
Yeah, well, I mean, at some point you would think it's embarrassing, but it's not to somebody like that because somebody like that just doesn't care.
He's laughing all the way to the bank.
What are you writing about, Bob?
Well, just gonna do a follow-up. I want to see when they have their post-mortem with the interviews. I'm gonna play a lot of golf, and it's a little slow for the next couple of weeks until training camp starts.
Yeah, then we can start debating quarterback play. Are you excited?
Look, I love the stats when they're at practice. You know, he was 7 of 9 for 27 yards.
Right.
And I'm not looking forward to that.
Interesting is what it's going to be. Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com. You can check your stuff out there. Hey, great visit last week, too. I'm glad you got your phone back on time, too.
Yeah, that was a little scary, but thank you for making sure it was recovered.
You got it, brother. I appreciate you, Bob.
All right, thank you, buddy.
It's Bob Kravitz at bobkravitz.com. Shows on the road in Broad Ripple tomorrow. Old Pros Table with Heaven Hill Distillery. That's a tavern tour stop. We shall see you then. But right now, we'll see who wins. Dating a virgin is involved in this, right? Yes, that's a horse's name for real. You're in, you're ready. 50-50 betting and dining from Harrah's Hoosier Park Racing and Casino in Anderson. Here's your Harrah's Hoosier Park race of the day.
He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Shout out to Dating a Virgin. Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day. Matt Galt takes it home. Risky Endeavor was the winner. $4.40 on a $2 bet. $2 exacta was $46. The 50-cent trifecta, $57.45. 50-50 betting and dining. That is the Harris Hoosier Park Race of the Day for a Wednesday. Matt Galt is the winner. We shall do it again tomorrow as we'll be live in Broad Ripple with Heaven Hill Distillery. Tavern Tour stop at Old Pro's Table coming up tomorrow. Me and Brent Halverson and a great show. We just got to make sure you guys all join us. The sampler platters and everything. The availability. Old Pro's Table, Broad Ripple, tomorrow. Heaven Hill Distillery Tavern Tour stop. Cindy's next at 239-1070. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, JMV.
How are you, Cindy?
Oh, I'm great. Going through a little bit of some hard rain right now.
Well, be careful out there.
I will. I've got my hands on the wheel, but yeah, it's just kind of breaking up. You go through it, and then it stops. And
right.
Then very scattered, but. Frequent listener, frequent caller. I was just kind of wondering about the Isaiah Jackson factor. I think some other people have maybe mentioned it. I'm not real familiar with his style of play, so I'm kind of wondering if, with Tyrese out, our starters all, stay the same. And, as far as like who we're going to plug in for Tyrese's spot, I mean, yes, I love Mathern as well, and I think he's great, but I don't know what Isaiah brings to the table because I feel like people are kind of forgetting that he's back.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a free agent, so you got to bring him back. I believe that to be the case. But I don't think there are a lot of options, and he's been with the team the entire time in rehab. So I would think, to me, from what everybody is like screaming and yelling about, he would be a great compliment as a rim runner and a rebounder, because that's what he was before. But the thing that stood out to me during his rehab is he's a lot bigger. At least that's what I've noticed in him. A lot bigger and a lot stronger. Yes. So I would not know, and I don't even know, maybe James Wiseman ends up back in some capacity as well. That wouldn't surprise me either, both coming off Achilles injuries, but he looks bigger and stronger, and I always felt he could be a compliment to what people dislike about Miles and what he doesn't offer coming off the bench right there. So
totally.
that would be my expectation.
And that's exactly my thoughts was rebounder and, strong off the glass, which we could use.
No doubt about that. Cindy, what else? You going to join us in Broad Ripple tomorrow, Cindy? I think that's a good idea.
I keep wanting to join you guys, but I just haven't yet. Oh, one other thing.
Yes.
I did have 2 points.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is, I'm old school, so I come from the high top days with the shoes.
Yes.
And
so you want to, I tell you what, Cindy, I only got a couple of seconds left. I got to bail here, but call in tomorrow because I want to talk about that because I'm infatuated with low tops too. And I struggled, and thank you, Cindy, call tomorrow with a calf injury, and I wonder if I can blame it on low tops, not just because I'm unathletic. The low top conversation we'll have tomorrow. Where's my love for high tops, James? Thank you, James, for everything. Me and Brent and you, everybody, Old Pro's Table, Broad Ripple tomorrow, beginning at 3 for a tavern tour stop with Heaven Hill Distillery. Be there. Cannot wait to see you at 3.